11 Scandalous Facts about Burlesque. Many people don't know the history or the story behind the burlesque dancing and think it's more of a striptease than a show, but they are wrong. There's a lot more in burlesque than striptease, and there's a lot more in it than what's told. The shows have dramatic and musical performances by women removing their clothes but with humor in it. 1. The word burlesque derives from Italian burlesco, which means a joke, ridicule or mockery. It started in the Victorian era and the word burlesque was used to describe parody plays. Burlesque dancing transformed into striptease show in the 20th century. 2. Burlesque allows all body types. If you think you're sexy, then you're sexy. Before it was mainly focused on a certain ideal, and what's happening in the neo-burlesque scene right now is it's actually turning into the third wave of feminism. It's really being embraced by feminists, which is sort of weird, because you wouldn't necessarily think that strippers are feminists. It doesn't matter if you have hips or you're flat-chested or you're a little overweight or you're too skinny, the emphasis is more on confidence and feeling like you're sexy. And if you think you're sexy, then the audience is gonna think you're sexy. It's really great to see more and more body types highlighted. 4. Burlesque goes way back to Athens, where the writer named Aristophanes created and wrote plays, in which the wives of Athenian soldiers hole up in the Acropolis, depriving their husbands of sex until the war was done. 5. The first credited burlesque performer in London was Lydia Thompson. She had a group of bleach blonde women called the British Blondes. The public was pissed and outraged that such women with fleshy legs, big hips and big boobs would wear such revealing costumes, and her troupe grossed over £300,000 in a year. The same lady Lydia Thompson brought her group over to NYC in the 1860s, and that was where burlesque began to boom. Burlesque clubs were associated with booze, hence when Prohibition began it took a serious hit. 7. After World War II, the pin-up brought back the heyday of burlesque and it has been rocking ever since. There are hundreds of thousands of burlesque groups today, and whether they are modernizing the traditional art form, or are keeping it old school. 8. In burlesque shows, they have different titles and names than any other show. It is more than an entertainment show. The burlesque show has its own culture and language, and they have different terms when it comes to the performer's stage name. 9. Burlesque dancing is a huge industry. The burlesque shows has hundreds of employees and thousands of people who are interested in watching the burlesque. 10. Because of how intimate a burlesque performance is, wardrobe details are incredibly important. Burlesque performances take place in smaller stages, so the performers are much closer to the audience than they would be in ballet or other forms of dance. Neo-burlesque acts tend to utilize humor, politics, weirdness, or avant-garde props or tools. Neo-burlesque also often combines other formats of performance like theater, singing, aerial work, and fire. It's important to know that an act can begin classic and then neo for storytelling, for humor, etc. Generally, those hybrid acts are categorized as neo acts with classic elements, not a neo act turned classic. The burlesque dancing plays on the emotional and psychological part more than the seduction part. It also combines music and dances, so it would make a special show. Many people believe that the stripping part and the burlesque dancing started as an accident, that it wasn't planned in the show and the performers started including more later on. But burlesque has an interesting history to it, and it's something that has a culture and world of its own. It is certainly considered to be an art. 11. Most people think that the burlesque dancers are feminists, as females play all the men's role. However, in the 18th and 19th century, female performers who worked in the burlesque shows came from abusive situations, and this was the only thing they could do. That doesn't apply to all performers, but most of them. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell to be notified of new videos.